I am back with some more COVID-19 related information. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos, but I've been doing a lot of videos, and if you'd like to see more of them, be sure you hit the subscribe button that you see down below. And from there, you can also hit the little bell button, and what that will do is notify you when we have other content that we are publishing. So yeah, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Anywho, unless you've been living under a rock, about a week ago from the date that I'm recording this, or 6 days ago, the Centers for Disease Control issued new guidance on masks and said that if you are fully vaccinated, then you are not required to wear a mask either indoors or outdoors. That announcement came as a huge surprise, a bit of a shock to lots and lots of different people, and it has created a massive amount of confusion. Adding to that confusion, states are relaxing their own mask mandates. And if you happen to be here in the state of Maryland, the Governor Hogan has said that he is going to order statewide that we're going to be doing what the CDC recommends. But oh, yeah, we're also going to kick it down to the counties and they can make up their own rules, which just makes things even more complicated. So, this video is probably just going to annoy the crap out of you because, quite frankly, it has been a mess for lawyers as well, trying to figure out what we should do and how we should advise our clients. So I thought I would take this opportunity to discuss a little bit about some of the things that you should be concerned about when you're coming up with a mask policy. So the first thing that you have to do is decide whether or not you're going to have a mask policy for your employees and a separate one for customers. And that's fine if you do. You need to determine for your employees whether employees are customer facing or not, whether or not they're vaccinated or not, how you want to go about handling that. And quite frankly, it's not the easiest thing to do. So I also want to point out a few other things that are going on as we go through this video. So the first thing that I want to point out is that it really does matter where you are located. The states that are starting to lift the mask mandates, and of course the CDC lifting the mask mandate, it does present a bit of a problem if you happen to be in a jurisdiction that has not lifted the mask mandate, whether that's statewide or whether that's in a particular county within your state or even a city within a county within your state. So the rules of the localities do matter, and you should be following the rules of the lowest, or you should be following the most restrictive rules that are out there. So the federal government has said fully vaccinated people don't have to mask. Some states have said fully vaccinated people don't have to mask. But some counties are saying, even though you're fully vaccinated, you still have to wear a mask if you're inside, but maybe not outside. Sometimes even outside. If you're in a city that has a separate rule from the localities, then once again, you need to follow the most restrictive rules that have been posted out there. So I do want to address one question. I see it all the time on Facebook. How can a business ask me, either a customer or an employee, for information about whether or not I've been vaccinated, like seeing a vaccine record? Let's be clear, and let me be 100% crystal clear. Unless you are a healthcare related industry, meaning a medical practice or an insurance company, the HIPAA law does not apply to you. It is not, I repeat, not a HIPAA violation to ask somebody to produce a vaccination record. So if they are willing to produce it, we're going to talk about that in just a second, then you can see it and it's not a violation of HIPAA. You should keep that information confidential, of course, but it's not a violation of HIPAA to ask for it or to provide it. Okay, so let's talk about the mask mandate for employers and what that means. So, under the CDC guidance now, fully vaccinated individuals are not required to wear a mask absent some other uh, condition, which we'll cover in just a second, either indoors or outdoors. So some of the conditions that might be special or separate might be if you work in a healthcare setting, if you live in a nursing home or prison. But if you're in a prison and you're watching this, I really, really want to know who you are. So just saying that. But essentially, if you're in a situation where you're living around lots of people whose vaccination status is unknown, then you're still required to wear a mask. If you're in a healthcare setting, you're required to wear a mask. So those are the kinds of things that you do have to still require mask wearing if you happen to be one of those businesses. Then we have the question, and this is the ultimate question: what do we do with our business about a mask policy? So let's talk about customers. You, as a business, can determine whether or not you want your customers to be masked when they come in the door or not. I previously talked about a no shoes, no shirt, no mask, no service policy. You can certainly implement that and have that be as part of your policy. So when somebody walks in the store, if you want to tell them they have to wear a mask, that is your right and you can do so. There are the obvious consequences that some people who don't want to wear masks aren't going to do so, so you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do there. And you may lose some business from those people who don't want to wear masks. But that is the risk that you take. So you can have a policy amongst your customers that they have to wear a mask, or that's entirely optional. Next up is your employees, and I classify employees into two groups: customer-facing employees and sort of non-customer-facing employees. You really have sort of three options that you can do when it comes to a mask policy. The first and most conservative position, the most risk-adverse position is if you're in the workplace, you got to wear a mask. Pretty simple and straightforward. Doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, everybody's got to wear a mask. It's a path to take. The next up is what we're referring to as the honor system. You say to employees, if you are fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. And you just sort of trust the employees to do that. Now, obviously, small businesses, you're going to know a lot of your employees probably a little bit more intimately than larger businesses would. So maybe it's a situation where you can trust those employees, and that's fine. Particularly if your employees have been doing what half the world seems to be doing, which is posting their COVID vaccination pictures. I won't be doing that, just so as you know. But it is one way that you can go with the honor system. The obvious, lawyer concern is that there may be some people who are going to abuse the system and they didn't want to wear a mask. They don't ever wanted to wear a mask. They only did it so they can keep their job. And as soon as the CDC says, I don't have to do it, I'm not going to do it, whether I'm vaccinated or not. Is that a risk? Of course it's a risk. Do I think it's a rational risk? Sure. Do I think it's likely? It depends greatly upon your staff, and it depends greatly upon where you think they are. The next system is what is referred to as active management, meaning you tell your employees that if they can produce a vaccination card, then they can go without a mask within the office. Now, the problem that you're going to run into is if somebody says, well, I'm not fully vaccinated, you can't really ask the follow-up question, which is why. Or if they say, I'm vaccinated, but I'm damn sure not going to show you my card, then you're really stuck in the kinds of questions that you can follow up with. Because that can get into issues of religious accommodation, Americans with Disability Act accommodation, what is called GINA, which is the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act. Those things can apply, if they apply to your business, asking follow-up questions can create quite a problem. You also get into a situation of whether or not some individuals are going unmasked and others are not, and how do you identify people who are? And there's a lot of sort of potential in this sort of active management system that can create problems such as discrimination issues, disparate impact or disparate treatment issues, and those kinds of concerns can come up when you're dealing with an active management policy. There's also privacy concerns, and all of these kinds of this information in these laws, these are impacted by your decision. So, yeah, those are the three sort of models that you can take. I don't really have one that I favor. I know that's a little difficult to hear, but it really is going to depend quite heavily upon the circumstances in your business And as much as that sounds like me just trying to drum up business, believe me when I tell you, I would love to be able to give everybody a nice, easy, bright line rule to follow, but I can't. So that's the nature of the beast in this particular case. So there's a couple of other considerations that employers should think about when they are dealing with whether or not to have employees masked or not. And the first is your customers themselves. If you happen to have a customer facing business, you need to be cognizant of who your customer base is. If your customer base involves a lot of children under the age of 12, your customers, their parents more specifically, are going to be really nervous about bringing people in or bringing their kids into a business if they see a lot of staff members being unmasked. It's a problem, and I get that. It's one of the considerations that you should take into account. The next up is your insurance. It might be worth a call to your insurance broker or your insurance company to say, hey, if we go to an honor system for masking or an active management system for masking, what's the insurance implications? Would I be covered if there's a claim? What kind of claims could come up? Those are considerations to have. And finally, there's an odd consideration that, had not a colleague mentioned it today, I probably would not have thought about this, but your landlord. Now, it's kind of an open question amongst us lawyer types of whether or not a landlord can mandate a policy within the space that you lease. But they certainly can mandate a policy in common areas. They can say, if you're going to be in our common areas and we, the landlord, control that area, you have to be masked. It is something that you're going to have to follow, or you're going to run into some difficulties with the landlord. Finally, there's one other thing that I want to address, and that is disagreements. Let's face it, whether we like it or not, whether it is something that we enjoy or not, COVID and the reactions to it and the policies about it have sparked an intense political debate. And there's going to be people who are going to view this as a political issue. There's going to be people who are going to view it as a social issue or a safety issue. And you are likely to get fights among employees, particularly if you're in a system where some employees prefer to wear a mask and some employees don't. Even if you're in the honor system or the active management system, there's always going to be somebody who has a problem. There's a viral video going around of a teacher berating a student, a high school student, about not wearing a mask. I don't know what the school's policy was on the mask. The student claimed that he was vaccinated. The teacher almost certainly was vaccinated, but it was a pretty ugly confrontation involving some cursing, and it was from the teacher to the student. Now, I'm not going to comment on that particular thing, but it's just a point that I want to highlight. You are likely to find employees who are very adamant about wearing masks, even if they are vaccinated. Maybe it's because they're concerned about an elderly parent that they're taking care of, or an immunocompromised person in their life, or their children. And then there's going to be people who are like, wait a minute, I'm vaccinated. The CDC said that I don't have to wear a mask. I'm in a state that says I don't have to wear a mask. I'm in a locality that says I don't have to wear a mask. Why the heck do I have to wear a mask to appease your concerns? So if you're an employer and you think that's going to be a concern, you need to have a plan for how you're going to address that. And you should have that plan before you announce how you're going to go about your mask policy in-house. As always, these are things that you really should consult a counsel with, whether it's me, whether it's somebody else. Talk to somebody about this and develop a plan that works for you, that works for your business. Okay? In the meantime, if you have questions, if you want to discuss this, please don't hesitate to reach out, schedule a consultation. We'll be happy to have a chat with you. And in the meantime, stay safe out there and go out and watch some live soccer, everybody. There's some great stuff going on. Talk to you later. Bye bye.